So Kal Kadosh, now we're going to read inside that which we just said until now. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer, Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Betera, says, Basheni b'Chag u'maskir. He's going to mention it on the Sheni of Chag, second day of Chag. He says, Mai ta'ama, what's the reasoning? To Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. The Tanya, but we learned in a Braita. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says, Ne'emar b'Sheni v'niskehem. It says on the second day, v'niskehem. V'ne'emar b'Shishi, right? Unsachea. It says on the sixth day, unsachea. V'ne'emar b'Shvi'in. It says on the seventh day, kimishpatam. And all the rest, it says v'niskaim kamishpat. Hare. So therefore, behold, mem, yod, mem, hare kamayim. The letters mem extra, yod extra, mem extra. It means water. So therefore, mikan remez nisuch hamayim min Torah. So from here is a remez. We do nisuch hamayim min Torah. So says the Gemara, umayshna b'sheni dinakat. So what's the reasoning why Dafka specifically on the second day you're going to do it? At the end of the day, you have three inclusions. Day number 2, 6, and 7. So why did you choose day number 2? Right, that's what he says. Umayshna, what's the difference? Basheni, that on the second day, the nakat that he grabbed onto it, right? Why? So answers the Gemara, because when it's mentioned, when it's hinted in the pasuk, remize is remez. It's a hint. Bikra in a pasuk, basheni hu teremize. It's hinted in the second day. Meaning, the fact that Nisuch HaMayim was coming and starting to start, meaning we go after the starting of the hint. The first letter of the hint. When is the starting of the hint? The mem. So therefore, that's what we're going to start. Hilkach, and therefore, basheni matkerina. We're going to mention it on the second day. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva comes, and he says, Bashishi bechag umaskir. Yeah, what does it mean Bashishi bechag? On the sixth day of Chag, you're going to mention it. Shneimar, it says Bashishi on the sixth day of Sukkot, unsacheha, meaning v'niskehem is not the same like unsacheha. At the end of the day, unsacheha is mamash on the nisuchim, right? And therefore he comes and he says, and not like the other days that it just says v'niskah was lashon yachid. So he says bishne nisuchin hakatuv medaber. The pasuk is talking about two different nisuchin. One of them echad nisuch hamayim, echad nisuch hayayin. And therefore, since there's two nisuchim, one is water and one is wine. So therefore, that's how we know that on the sixth day you're going to mention because of the water. And this is how it's hinted into the Torah. Says the Gemara, ve'ema tarvayu dechamra. He says, 1 second, but maybe I'm going to say that both of them, when it says unsachea, it's both of them talking about chamra, which is wine, right? That means we're talking about two nesachim of wine, so it's a double portion of wine. And so the Gemara, savar la Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, te'amar remize maya, that he says that it's hinted in water. Okay, this is where we got up to yesterday, and that's how we finished the first daf yesterday. Now I'm going to give you outside the beginning of the next daf Gimel Amud Aleph. We're going to go outside and then inside. Okay, afterwards. Yes, we'll do after. Right now, 1 second. So outside, when we're going to start the Gimel Amud Aleph, we're going to ask a very simple question. And the simple question that we ask is like this. What did we just say right now? We just said Rabbi Akiva argues on Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, and he says that you do it on which day? On the sixth day, and not on the second day. Why? Because unsacheha, and unsacheha means two nisuchim, one for water, one for wine. We ask, how do we know that it's both? That it's one for water, one for wine? Maybe they're both talking about wine. So the answer that we gave is that he also holds up Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. So ask the Gemara, Aywa, if you hold like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, so then do it in the second, just like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Yeah, that's what we're going to ask. If you already hold like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, and that means you hold of this entire concept of mine, that it's extra, so do like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Do like on the second day. So answers Rabbi Akiva. He says yes, but when is it written the extra nisuch? It's written on the sixth day. Meaning, If you remember, even kamishpatam or kamishpat, right there, it was written an extra mem, but it wasn't on the nisuch hamayim, it was on the mishpat, right? And all these, so that was extra, right? But the nisuch that's written mefurash extra is on the 6th day. So according to Rabbi Akiva, even though you're right, he does agree to this concept of mayim, that there's an extra mem, there's an extra yod, there's an extra mem, but the ikar, right, was what? Was going to be on the 6th day, and therefore he says it on the 6th day. Okay, and that was until there. Okay, now we learn in the Braita. The Braita comes and says, Rabbi Natan says, there's another place where we can learn Nisuch HaMayim. Now I'm giving you another place. Okay, now if you realize, this Rabbi Natan was not mentioning, meaning he's not giving you a different date when to mention it, because until now we were talking about different dates, and we spoke about why. So we spoke about Yom Rishon Shel Chag. Who held Yom Rishon Shel Chag? Eliezer. Chazak Uruch. We held Shemini Atzeret. Who held Shemini Atzeret? Yoshua. Right? We held Yom Sheni. Who was Yom Sheni? Rabbi Yehuda ben Mitera. We held Shishi was Rabbi Akiva. Now, right? Now what happens is that now we're going not on a different day, but rather on a different limud. Okay, so the day, he doesn't give a date, but he says, I have another limud to Nisuch HaMayim. What's the other limud to Nisuch HaMayim? We say in Korbanot, right? We say in Korban HaTamid, which means that we say it for Mincha. I don't know how many of you are here for Mincha at 6 o'clock, right? But at 6 o'clock we say, Bakodesh Asech Nesech Shechala Hashem. What does that mean? We come and we say, Bakodesh Asech Nesech. Says the Rabbi Natan, the fact that it says Hasech Nesech, we're talking about two different Nisuchim. One Nisuch HaMayim on Chag HaSukkot, and one Nisuch HaYayin of Korban HaTamid. Right? Which means that now here though, we have to actually understand why is it, how does he know that this is Nisuch HaMayim on Sukkot? We're talking about the Korban HaTamid. Korban HaTamid is every single day. It's not only on Sukkot. So some people want to say that Rabbi Natan was so mech on the Rashav Rabbi Akiva unsachea that we're talking about two nisuchim, but he wanted to learn it from the two nisuchim from Asech Nesech, right? Asech Nesech, right?
That's what you prove of the water.
Of the water, yes, from Nisuch HaMayim. Okay, but remember, Korban HaTamid was every single day, right? That's what we say. Ola Tamid, that's Yom Sinai, right? Tamid Shel Shachar, Tamid Shel Mayim. The morning one, the afternoon one, fine. So ask the Gemara the same question that we asked on Rabbi Akiva 5 minutes ago. He says, 1 second, if it says Hasech Nesech, and we're talking about two different Nisuchim, right? And you just told me that one means water and one means wine. Ask the Gemara, maybe both of them are
wine.
Maybe both of them are wine. So the Gemara answers, no. If it would have been both of them the same thing, it would have said Hasech Hesech or Nasech Nesech. Right. It would have used the same terminology twice. But why does it say Hasech Nesech? So it says Shema Mina comes to teach you. One is water and one is wine.
And that you do only the
okay.
So
and that's
the answer actually of the fact that there is no doubt that Rabbi Akiva maybe the mistake is 2-1.
No. It's another reason. It's another reason. But 1 minute, we're going to see. Let's read it inside. We're going to read it inside. Says the Gemara inside. Okay, the Gemara says Isavala. Okay, if he holds. Yes, I'm doing inside. Okay, yeah. Inside. Gimel Amud Aleph on the top, the first word on the line. Yeah? If you're going to tell me that Rabbi Akiva holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Mitera, Neima Kavate. Neima, say Kavate like him. Yeah, say like him. Say Yom Shani like him. Meaning, if you're already going to tell me if Savar he holds that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Mitera, so Neima, you should say Kavate like him, which is Yom Shani, not Yom Shishi. So answers the Gemara, Kasava Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds Ki Ketiv Nisuch Yetera. When is it written the extra? Yetera is Yeter, more. When is it written the extra Nisuch? Bashishi, right? On the 6th day. Bashishu Dichtiv. It's on the 6th day. And since it's written on the 6th day, That's why you do it specifically on the 6th day. The extra nisuch was written on Yom HaShishi. So even though he holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tira of the concept of mine, and that's how he still has a hint of mine, there is one mine, right? But you still have it here, okay?
We said at the end of the previous stuff already, no?
No.
Now, Tanya, we learned in a Baraita. So we learned in a Baraita, Rabbi Natan Omer. Yeah, Rabbi Natan says, Bakodesh Asech Nesech Shechar La Hashem. What does that mean? Bakodesh Asech Nesech Shechar La Hashem. Now, if you realize, we're talking about Nisachim. Remember, Nisachim are wine libations, right? Libations. Yeah, that was a word. Yeah?
Yeah.
Wine libations. So wine, you're putting wine. Okay. Now we're talking about the Nisachim of which korban? Korban Taanit. Korban Taanit you bring how many times during the day?
Once.
Taanit.
Don't listen when it's the wrong answer.
Once.
I know. I told you don't listen when it's the wrong answer. Twice. Taanit shel Shachar, v'Taanit shel Ben Arbaim. Right? You bring it Shachrit and Mincha.
That's why it's
Right?
Taanit.
Twice. Korban Taanit. Taanit shel Shachar, v'Taanit shel Ben Arbaim. Now it's written Hasech Nesech. Since it says Hasech Nesech, right? Since it says Hasech Nesech, so therefore it says Bishne Nisuchin Hakatuv Medaber. With two Nisuchin the pasuk is talking about. Echa Nisuch HaMayim ve'echa Nisuch HaYayin. One of them is Nisuch of water, and one of them is Nisuch HaYayin. So if you realize the Binatan is also coming very similar to Rabbi Akiva until now. The only difference is Rabbi Akiva learned in the same word that instead of saying v'niska singular, it said unsachea plural. Here, the same word, you use it twice, right? Use esech nesech, right? Two words. So therefore, since we're learning two separate with two words, so therefore, one is for ma'im and one is for yain. Ask the Gemara, Ema tarbayu dechamra. Maybe both of them are talking about wine. So he comes and he says, right? Im ken, if so, right? If so, if ken so, right? Lichtov kra, the kra should write. Lichtov is katav, right? Lichtov, to write. Kra is a pasuk. Remember, mikra, chumash, it's pasuk, right? Kara, to read. Lichtov kra, the Torah should write, or hasech hesech, or nasech nesech. Meaning, the nikudot, you're leaving the same. Hasech nesech, that you're leaving the nikudot the same. Just you're changing the letters. Are you doing the hey or nun? Capish? Hey or nun? Okay, it has to do with grammar, right? But it has to do with hasech nesech or nesech nesech. Shema Nina comes to teach you chad demaya v'chad dechamra, from the fact that it changed and it didn't use the same terminology. Okay, that means it didn't use the same terminology. That comes to teach you that there's a shinui, there's a difference in what? That one of them is going to be in wine and one of them is going to be in water. Which means like this, even in sometimes in English, if I'm going to come and I could have used the same terminology, right? I'm going to use if I could have used the same terminology, right, twice, and instead of using the same terminology, I changed. So maybe we're talking about two different criteria, okay, or two different times or two different types, right? So therefore, no, nothing to do with it. No.
It sounds like morning and afternoon rather than wine.
No. So the Tosafot and Zivachim actually brings us down. And the Tosafot is talking about how do we know that from this pasuk, we're talking about Korban Tamid. Korban Tamid is every single day and twice a day. So if you're going to tell me from the Korban Tamid that you're going to do a water libation, so how do you connect that to Sukkot? Saying Korban Tamid is every single day, it's not only on Sukkot. So he says some people answer that Rabbi Natan was being somech still on the Dirasha of Rabbi Akiva. Okay? That means Rabbi Natan still holds like Rabbi Akiva from Unsacheha, that we're talking about two Nisuchim that the Pasuk is talking about. But he learned it from the shinui of a sech nesech, that the nisuch hasheni is not yain, but rather mayim, right? Just like the Gemara is going to explain later on, which we're going to explain in 2 minutes, which means that we didn't actually finish yet, because we're going to explain how do we know that we're still talking about water. But basically what's coming out now is as follows, right? If you paid attention, every single one is still learning like his friend. That means Rabbi Akiva still learns like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, that what? That there's such a concept of mind, mem yod mem, the extra letters. And Rabbi Natan, that he's learning it from a different place, still learns like Rabbi Akiva, that unsacheha was extra. But when you came and you asked, how do you know that maybe both of them are in wine? Right? And then we said that Rabbi Akiva holds of mind. Here's another reason why. Not because of the mind, but rather why? Because of asech nesech. Meaning the fact that we changed the terminology, it means that it's not using the same product. So therefore, since it's not using the same product, because if not, it could have used hasech esech or nasech nesech, right? Which is nesachim nesachim or hesech hesechim, right? Which is the same thing. But he didn't do that. He changed it. And that little change already showed you that there's something a little bit different. Many times you could tell that, for example, right, a doctor could come and he could mention a terminology and he could have said the exact same thing, but he changed it one time and another time. Now, when he says it, sometimes you could think to yourself, one second. When he used the first terminology, that means it could be that it's something mild. When he used the second terminology, it means a little bit harsher. So what's going on here? It must be that maybe there's two different things going on here. And therefore, one of them is mild, and one of them is a little bit harsher. One of them is one thing, one of them is a little bit different. So because of that, all of a sudden he comes and he says, it's completely different halacha. So therefore, over here, we're talking about that also Rabbi Natan still holds like Rabbi Akiva, right? Which means that he still holds of unsacheha, that it's still the double language. But now is another place. How do we know that it's going to be not both of them of wine, but rather one of them water, and one of them is going to be the wine? Okay? It's not.